The shuttle didn't land. It slammed. Metal screamed against rock as the transport skidded across the scorched surface, throwing sparks into the blood-red air. Inside, dozens of alien cadets were hurled against their restraints, some crying out, others already too terrified to make a sound. A voice crackled overhead. "Welcome to Death World Training Facility KX-9. The tone was cold, unfeeling. Survival rate, 32%. Silence swallowed the cabin. Then, 32%? One of the cadets whispered, his voice trembling. Another started hyperventilating. Someone else quietly vomited. Only one passenger didn't react. Seated near the rear of the shuttle, a human leaned back in his chair, arms folded, eyes half-lidded like he was on a boring commute instead of heading toward what was clearly a nightmare. His name was Daniel Hayes, and he looked mildly annoyed. The doors burst open with a hiss. Heat flooded in instantly, thick, suffocating, oppressive, the kind of heat that clawed at lungs and dried out skin in seconds. Outside, jagged black rock stretched across the horizon like the teeth of some massive predator. Gravity hit next. Several cadets collapsed the moment their restraints released. "Move!" A towering instructor barked from outside. The being was massive, nearly 3 meters tall, armored in plated chitin, with glowing orange eyes that scanned the recruits like they were already corpses. "Out of the shuttle! Now!" One by one, they stumbled out. Some crawled. Some cried. One fainted immediately and was dragged away. Daniel stood up slowly, stretching his neck like he'd just woken from a nap. Then he stepped off the shuttle. The gravity didn't even make him flinch. The heat didn't bother him. He inhaled deeply. "Ha!" he muttered. "Dry heat." The instructor's glowing eyes snapped toward him, paused, focused. "Interesting." "You," the instructor growled, pointing a claw. "Species." Daniel glanced up. "Human." A ripple of murmurs passed through the remaining cadets. "Human? They sent a human here? They won't last a day." The instructor tilted its head. "Unregistered Deathworld species," it said. "Uncommon." Daniel shrugged. "Guess I'm special." The instructor stared a moment longer, then turned away. "Form ranks. Training begins immediately." They didn't even get time to recover. The first trial was simple. Run 10 kilometers across uneven volcanic terrain, under crushing gravity, with no water. Begin. The cadets sprinted, or tried to. Within minutes, the formation shattered. Some slowed to a crawl. Others collapsed entirely, their bodies unable to handle the brutal conditions. Med drones hovered overhead, marking the fallen without intervening. This wasn't training. It was filtering. Daniel jogged. Not sprinting. Not struggling. Just jogging. He weaved around fallen cadets, stepping over one who was gasping for air. "Hey," Daniel said casually, "you might want to pace yourself." The alien wheezed something unintelligible. Daniel kept going. Halfway through, only a handful remained upright. The instructor watched from above on a hovering platform, eyes narrowing as it tracked one figure in particular. Daniel wasn't just surviving. He wasn't even tired. At kilometer 7, Daniel slowed. Not from exhaustion, but because he reached into his pocket, pulled something out, and started eating. The instructor blinked. "Is that food?" Daniel chewed thoughtfully while jogging. "An energy bar. Chocolate flavor." He glanced up at the platform. "Got more if you want," he called out. No response. Just silence. By the end of the run, only 6 cadets crossed the finish line. Daniel arrived third. Still eating. They were given exactly 5 minutes to recover. Most collapsed immediately. One of the cadets, a tall, thin, four-armed being, stared at Daniel in disbelief. You were consuming nutrients during the trial. Daniel nodded. Yeah. Helps. That environment should have induced severe metabolic stress. Daniel shrugged. Guess I'm built different. The alien just stared. Next trial, the instructor roared. A massive gate opened ahead. Beyond it, darkness. A cavern. Predator zone, the instructor announced. Survive 1 hour. The remaining cadets froze. Predators? Someone whispered. A distant roar echoed from within the cavern. Deep. Hungry. Wrong. One cadet immediately tried to back away. He didn't get far. A turret emerged from the ground and fired a stun blast, dropping him instantly. Cowardice is failure, the instructor said flatly. The gate creaked wider. Enter. No one moved. Except Daniel. All right, he said, cracking his neck. This one sounds fun. He stepped into the darkness. Alone. The others hesitated, then slowly followed. The moment the last one crossed the threshold, the gate slammed shut, and the screaming started almost immediately. Inside, the cavern was worse than expected. The air was damp, hot, thick with the scent of something rotting. Glowing fungi cast just enough light to reveal movement in the shadows. Too much movement. Something skittered across the ceiling. Something large. Something watching. One cadet broke instantly, firing their weapon wildly into the darkness. That was a mistake. The noise triggered everything. The walls came alive. Creatures lunged from every direction, multi-limbed, razor-toothed, impossibly fast. The cadets scattered. Some fought. Most ran. Daniel stood still. Okay, he muttered, looking around. That's a lot of teeth. A creature dropped from above. Daniel stepped aside casually. It slammed into the ground where he'd been standing. Before it could recover, he kicked it. Hard. The creature flew backward, crashing into a rock wall with a sickening crack. Daniel blinked. Ha, he said. That worked better than expected. Another lunged. He ducked, grabbed it mid-air, and threw it into a group of others. All right, he said, rolling his shoulders. Let's not get swarmed. In the distance, more screams. Less and less of them. Daniel sighed. Should probably help them. But he didn't rush. Didn't panic. He walked forward, like he was on a casual stroll, and as the predators closed in, he reached into his pocket again, pulled out another snack, and took a bite. Above, in the observation room, the instructors were silent, watching, processing. One of them finally spoke. Is he eating again? The lead instructor didn't respond immediately. Its glowing eyes were locked onto the feed, watching the human move through the predator zone like it was manageable, like it wasn't designed to kill. Monitor him, it said finally, closely, because something was very, very wrong. And it wasn't the planet. The screaming didn't last long. That was the first thing the instructors noticed. One moment the cavern was chaos, cadets running, predators hunting, echoes of panic filling every corner. Then, nothing. Not silence, but control. The cameras shifted. zooming in, tracking one figure moving steadily through the darkness. Daniel Hayes. Walking. Not running. Not hiding. Walking. Biometrics? One technician asked. Stable. Heart rate. Normal. Stress response. A pause. Minimal. The lead instructor leaned forward slightly, glowing eyes narrowing. Zoom further. Daniel stepped over a broken predator, its armored body split clean across the middle. Okay, he muttered. Definitely not friendly. Behind him, a weak sound echoed. A whimper. He turned. One of the cadets, a small insectoid, was slumped against the wall, one of its limbs torn off, trembling violently. "You're still alive," Daniel said, crouching beside it. The creature clicked weakly. "Predators. Too many." Daniel nodded, glancing into the shadows. "They're fast," he said. "But not impossible." A low growl cut through the air. Heavy. Slow. Deliberate. The insectoid froze instantly. "Don't move," it whispered. Daniel didn't move. But not from fear. From focus. "Big one," he murmured. From the darkness, it emerged. Twice the size of the others. Thick armor. Jagged mandibles. Eyes glowing with predatory intent. The insectoid made a broken sound. "We're dead." Daniel tilted his head slightly. "Nah." The creature lunged. Fast. Too fast for anything else in the cavern. The insectoid screamed. But Daniel stepped forward. He caught the creature mid-attack, one hand gripping its mandible. The impact cracked the ground beneath his feet. For a second, everything froze. Then Daniel frowned. "You're heavier." He twisted sharply. A loud crack echoed through the cavern. The creature dropped instantly. Dead. Daniel let it fall. "Ha," he said. "That worked." The insectoid stared in disbelief. "That was an apex stalker." Daniel shrugged. "Yeah. It hunts entire groups. Guess it picked wrong." Above, the observation room fell silent. Did he just neutralize an apex stalker? Unarmed. That requires heavy weaponry. "I can see that," the lead instructor said quietly. Its gaze didn't leave the screen. "Increase difficulty." A technician hesitated. "The remaining cadets are already failing," the instructor replied coldly. "This one is not." Back in the cavern, a low mechanical hum filled the air. Daniel looked up slightly. "That's new." The ground vibrated. From deeper within the cave, something emerged. Not natural. Metal fused with flesh. Glowing lines pulsed across its body. Its movements were precise. Calculated. The insectoid's voice shook. "Cyber beast." Daniel blinked. "You guys are serious, huh?" The creature scanned. Locked onto Daniel. Then charged. Faster than anything before. Stronger. Smarter. Daniel sighed. "All right." He stepped forward again. The creature attacked. A sharp, calculated strike. Daniel dodged. Barely. "Okay," he admitted. "That's different." It attacked again, adapting instantly. Faster. More precise. Daniel's expression shifted. Not fear. Focus. He moved differently now. No wasted motion. No casual dodging. Every step deliberate. Every action efficient. The insectoid watched, stunned. "You're not just strong." Daniel didn't respond. The cyber beast lunged again. Daniel caught its arm mid-strike, twisted, slammed it into the ground. Hard. The cavern shook. The creature struggled. Daniel didn't hesitate. He struck once, twice, 3 times. Each hit controlled, targeted, brutal. The glowing lines flickered, then died. Silence. Daniel exhaled slowly. "Okay," he said. "That one counts." Above, alarms began flashing. Cyber Beast unit offline. Signal lost. Structural damage detected. The instructors stared at the data. "Pain response?" one asked. "None." "Adrenal spike?" "Minimal." "This doesn't make sense." The lead instructor spoke quietly. "Prepare phase 2 escalation." A technician stiffened. "That's beyond standard." "I know." Its gaze remained locked on Daniel. "And he is beyond standard." Back below, a loud tone echoed through the cavern. "Trial complete." The gates slowly opened. Daniel stretched his arms. That was all right. He looked back at the insectoid. "You coming?" The creature hesitated, then nodded weakly. Together, they walked toward the exit. Behind them, nothing moved. Nothing lived. As they stepped into the light, the remaining cadets stared. Only 3 had survived. Daniel, the insectoid, and one other, barely conscious. The instructor descended slowly from above. It stopped in front of Daniel. For a moment, it said nothing. Then, "You." Daniel looked up. "Yeah." A pause. "What is your training?" Daniel thought for a second, then shrugged. "Gym. Hiking. Some boxing." Silence. Absolute silence. One cadet made a choking sound. The instructor leaned slightly closer. Insufficient answer. Daniel smiled faintly. "Works for me." The instructor stared at him a moment longer, then turned. "Prepare next phase." Daniel watched it go, then reached into his pocket, paused. Empty. "Ah." He frowned slightly. "I'm out of snacks." He sighed. "Hope the next test is shorter." Above, the lead instructor gave a quiet command. "Notify command." A subordinate hesitated. "Classification." The instructor didn't look away from the screen. "Potential apex anomaly." A pause. Then, "Observe carefully." The sun never moved. Daniel noticed it immediately as they were marched toward the next zone. Same position. Same heat. No shift. "That's not natural," he muttered. Beside him, the insectoid, Krell, clicked weakly. "Artificial cycle. Designed to maintain stress." Daniel nodded. Figures. Ahead, a massive gate opened. Beyond it, a battlefield. Not empty. Not quiet. Alive. Creatures moved everywhere. Dozens. Maybe hundreds. Different shapes, different sizes, all dangerous. Krell froze. "This is wrong." Daniel cracked his neck. "Yeah. Definitely not normal training." The instructor's voice thundered. "Objective. Survive." The gate slammed shut behind them. It started instantly. The ground exploded beneath one cadet, dragging them under before they could even scream. The rest scattered. "Move," Daniel said, grabbing Krell and pulling him aside just as something dropped from above. "Don't stop moving. Ever." They ran, but not blindly. Daniel guided them toward higher ground, a jagged rock formation that gave them fewer angles of attack. "Stay here," Daniel said. "Watch the edges." Krell nodded quickly, still shaking. Below them, chaos erupted. Cadets who panicked died first. Those who froze didn't last long either. Only a few adapted. And Daniel? He controlled everything around him. The first wave came fast. Low, fast predators rushing across the ground. Daniel waited, watched, then moved at the last second. He sidestepped one, redirected another into its own kind, and grabbed a third mid-lunge, throwing it into a cluster of attackers. Efficient. No wasted energy. Krell stared in disbelief. "You are predicting them." Daniel shrugged. "They're not that complicated." Another wave. Flying this time. Screeching shapes dove from above. Daniel grabbed one out of the air and used it like a weapon, smashing it into two others. "Okay, that's new," Krell said. Daniel smirked slightly. Improvising. Time blurred. Minutes felt like hours. Or maybe it was the other way around. Creatures kept coming. Each wave stronger, more aggressive, more coordinated. But Daniel adapted faster. He used terrain. Let creatures fight each other. Avoided unnecessary movement. Saved energy. Every decision calculated. Krell realized something terrifying. "You're not surviving." Daniel glanced at him. Krell swallowed. "You're managing the battlefield." Daniel didn't deny it. Above, the instructors were no longer calm. Remaining cadets, too. That is not within acceptable projections. The lead instructor stared at the screen. He's controlling exposure, adapting faster than escalation. A pause. Then, initiate phase 3. A technician hesitated. That phase is not designed for trainees. It is no longer a training scenario. Silence. Do it. Back below, the air shifted. The creatures paused. Just for a moment. Then, they scattered. Running. Hiding. Retreating. Krell looked around, confused. Why are they leaving? Daniel frowned slightly. Because something worse is coming. A low rumble echoed across the arena. Deep. Heavy. Getting closer. Daniel exhaled slowly. "Yeah," he said. "That's definitely worse." The sky darkened. Not with clouds, but with mass. Krell looked up. And froze. No! Massive shapes descended from above. War forms. Not predators. Weapons. Designed for war. The first one landed. The impact shattered the ground, sending a shockwave through the arena. Krell was thrown off his feet. Daniel slid back, but stayed standing. "All right," he muttered. "Now we're getting somewhere." The war form roared. Then charged. Fast. Too fast. Daniel dodged, but not cleanly. The force pushed him back. For the first time, he adjusted his stance. Krell noticed instantly. "You're taking this seriously." Daniel cracked his neck. "Yeah." The war form attacked again. Daniel met it head-on. The impact echoed like thunder. Stone cracked beneath them. This wasn't like the others. This thing hit back. Hard. Daniel blocked. Redirected. Countered. But each movement required effort now. Real effort. Above, the instructors leaned forward. Output increasing. Stress indicators rising. Finally. The war form adapted. Every strike faster, more precise. It learned, adjusted. Daniel's expression changed. No more casual attitude. Just focus. Pure, controlled focus. The war form lunged. Daniel stepped in. Not away. In. He caught its arm. Twisted. Drove his shoulder into its core. A crack echoed. The war form staggered. Daniel didn't stop. A second strike. Then a third. Each one calculated. Each one stronger. Finally, the war form collapsed. Krell stared. You learned it, mid-fight. Daniel exhaled. Took a second. Another impact shook the arena. Krell looked up again. More war forms. Descending. There are more. Daniel followed his gaze. Then, for the first time, he smiled. Good. The next one hit harder. Faster. Daniel moved before it even landed properly. No hesitation now. No testing. He struck first. The fight was shorter, cleaner, more efficient. The third one barely lasted longer. Each battle, faster, stronger, better. Daniel wasn't just adapting. He was improving. Rapidly. Above, the instructors fell silent. This is no longer adaptation. This is escalation. He's learning faster than the system can respond. The lead instructor spoke quietly. Stop escalation. A pause. Now. But below. It was already too late. The final war form fell. The arena went still. And Daniel stood at the center of it. Not exhausted. Not injured. Just done. Silence filled the arena. Not because the test ended, but because nothing remained. No creatures. No war forms. No movement. Just Daniel. Standing calmly. Krell sat nearby, still trying to process everything. You are not normal, he said quietly. Daniel shrugged. Probably not. Above, alarms blared. All phases failed. Subject exceeds parameters. Recommend termination. The lead instructor didn't move. No. The room froze. No. This is not failure, the instructor said. Its eyes remained locked on Daniel. This is discovery. The gates opened slowly, carefully, not like before. Daniel looked up. We done? No answer. He shrugged and started walking. Krell followed. Outside, rows of instructors waited, armed, tense, watching him like he was a threat. Daniel stopped. He said. Did I pass? No one answered. The lead instructor stepped forward. Slowly, carefully, not too close. Human. Daniel waved. Hey! A pause. What you consider normal. Daniel scratched his head. This was kinda intense, I guess. Several instructors shifted uneasily. Kinda intense. The instructor continued. This facility is designed to break apex species. Daniel nodded. Yeah, I noticed. You did not break. Daniel smiled slightly. Wasn't really trying not to. Silence. Heavy. Then, what are you? Daniel thought about it. Then shrugged. Hungry. He looked around. Seriously, is there food? No one laughed. No one moved. Because now they understood. This wasn't effort. This wasn't peak. This was casual, unbothered, unpushed. The lead instructor turned. Terminate the program. A technician hesitated. The entire facility? Yes. It looked back at Daniel. And send a warning. What classification? The answer came instantly. Do not engage. A pause. Under any circumstances. Daniel stretched. So, he said to Krell, you think we're done? Krell stared at him, still shaken. I think they want you gone. Daniel grinned. Works for me. He started walking, calm, relaxed, like nothing had happened. Behind him, an entire facility watched in silence, because they hadn't trained a soldier. They hadn't tested a recruit. They had made a mistake. They had brought a human into hell, and discovered he didn't belong there. He thrived there.